Hello, happy holidays, and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. We have a fun show for you today as a sports director for KMOX Radio, Tom Ackerman, joins us to discuss some breaking stories and upcoming events coming to town. And professional women's basketball player Rebecca Harris will join us to discuss her career and new book. So stay with us for this and much more coming up on a holiday edition of Inside Sports. Our first guest was born on an Air Force base in California. And after relocating to the St. Louis area, she led Mascoutah High School to a 28-6 record her senior year. She played at Ren Lake Community College, where she was third in the nation in scoring in 2005-2006, and became a force with the University of Illinois, being named to the All-Big Ten All-Tournament team. She's played over 10 years professionally overseas and plays in the Professional Summer League here in St. Louis as captain of the St. Louis Surge. She has recently written a book called How Bad Do You Want It? And this time we welcome Rebecca Harris to Inside Sports. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You know, it's always a good time when we get together.
You know, I tell you, just looking back at your career, it's amazing. And, you know, it's like, I want to ask you, what inspired you to write your book, How Bad Do You Want It? And I think of your career starting out, you know, being born on an Air Force base in California, and right after that, moving all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think my journey is unique, and oftentimes people ask me a lot of questions about how I made it to this level or that level and what routes I took. And then also my experience as a high school coach and a college coach, people have a lot of questions. And I started writing this book because I was responding to a message over social media like I do quite often. And I was on the back of a bus heading to an away game in Germany at the time. And we just had a lot of time on our hands, and I pulled out my laptop and I started writing down all the questions that a lot of parents, student athletes, trainers asked me, and next thing you know, I had this on my hands.
So what are some of the big topics of your book, some of the things that you want to get out and people to know about?
I have plenty of topics that talk about conversations that you should have with your coaches. Your high school coaches, if you are trying to play at the next level, you're not sure how to go about it, you're barely playing, or even if you are playing quite a bit. There's so much information that a lot of student athletes, their parents have no idea about, and I'm just trying to make sure that I do my part and give all the answers I can from my perspective. I know what it's like for kids to reach out to me as a coach, and I might be recruiting, and they want me to come look at them or come look at their highlight tape or see them in games. And I'll ask them, are you playing any AAU? What are your grades like? Where do you live? You know, because all coaches at the college level, they cannot go out and see everyone. So there's plenty of things that parents and student athletes can do to get their recruiting started on their own. And social media, I mean, it's big these days. Post your stuff.
Post your stuff, and I guess keep it clean too, because anything you can and say could be used against you down the road. I've heard that, you know, from a lot of people, you know, instructing kids. They say kind of, you know, keep it clean and don't say anything too crazy out there. Let's take it back a step. You were born in California. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're a military brat, so you probably have a lot of discipline with you. It was instilled in you with your family. And I know your father was a huge role model for you growing up on different air bases, as he was kind of a fun figure back in the day.
I mean, I think people have this misconception with me being a military brat as if like my dad ran this tight ship at home, you know, and things of that nature. He didn't so much, but when you live in a lifestyle full of the military, you see certain things. You see how people greet each other with a salute. You see the respect that they have for one another on base as Americans living in a different country, looking out for each other, and also to wear their uniform proudly and represent so much more than just themselves or their family. And those are the things that I picked up on much early. Like, I understand what it's like to work with a team for a common goal and just to look out for one another. And these are lifelong lessons that I've taken every step of the way.
You know, it's really amazing what you've gone through, and you've traveled the world. So, I mean, you're kind of like an expert in world travels. I don't know if you want to write a book about that someday, but you know, when you come back to the United States, or you know, you go from Japan to the Philippines to Germany to Czechoslovakia, not necessarily that order, right, and then you come back to the United States. What do you take back from your experiences over there, and then you come here and there's always a different climate going on?
I have to admit, when I first arrived in the States and we were stationed here, I felt like a foreign exchange student. I'm so used to different cultures, different languages being spoken around me, and it took some adapting, but just like any other situation I've ever been in, basketball helped me adapt and meet new people, friends, all of that nature. But it was certainly different. I credit being a military brat that grew up overseas to a lot of the different ways that I approach new teams, new cultures, new atmospheres, because I have to be open and I have to be able to adapt to succeed and have had this long career as long as I've had, because adapting has helped me.
I guess the common denominator, and there's only one language of basketball. I mean, you go out there and you play the game, and so that can probably help you get through any situation or whatever city, town, or state you're in.
Absolutely. I mean, basketball has done wonders for my life. Like, we are still, changing, directories here and there. I didn't picture myself in this position today of being an author and a speaker and doing things and sharing my experiences through basketball. However, I love it.
You had a great high school career right down the street from Scott Air Force Base in Muscuda. Then you went to Rend Lake, which is a good way to go. Going to the community college route. A lot of people, they can't afford, unless they have a scholarship, right away to go to a University of Illinois. But you banged out 2 years at Rend Lake and hugely successful there. Very high in scoring rating. And then you jumped up to Champaign, up to the University of Illinois. It seemed like your junior year, you were getting your feet wet a little bit. It's got to be a little bit different level from Rend Lake to the Big Ten.
Absolutely. It is a big leap. And I would say every year for college, I had a new coach. I was recruited by one. When I got to Rend Lake, I had another. The next year, I had another. And so then I transfer after my 2 years are done at the junior college level, have a new coach. Then my senior year, I have a new coach. So once again, I'm adapting to different situations, different people, different schemes, seeing where I fit in. And it wasn't so much the leap that I was adapting to. It was I'm coming into a completely new system as a transfer and battling it out with people who have been there from day one. And it takes more than just one person to adapt to change, and that was...
It really seemed like your senior year you started heating up down the stretch. I think you started 25 or 30 games or something like that as the point guard for Illinois. But down the stretch, you guys had some big wins against Ohio State and some other teams. And then, going into the tournament, you were on a roll, and you were it seemed like, you were the go-to person.
That near the end of that season, it took on a life of its own. Heading into the Big Ten tournament, we were placed at the 9th seed, but I knew I had goals outside of U of I that I wanted to continue my career and play the next level. Plus, we all had a goal as a team of trying to get it to the big dance, and having been named a 9th seed, we weren't too happy with that. So, yeah, we took notice and we did some things during the Big Ten tournament.
After college, you played professionally, going overseas. I'm thinking of the Big Ten tournament and, Big Ten basketball, NCAA. It's going to be hard to beat the crescendo of the crowd and the marketing things. But when you go over to Europe, from what I understand, there's Rebecca Harris billboards, and a lot of girls that play on the St. Louis Surge are in your position playing overseas. You play a full season, then you come back here and do the summer team league here with the St. Louis Surge.
Yeah, for women's basketball at the professional level, there really isn't many breaks if you are playing at a high level, especially if we were to talk about WNBA players themselves, right? You go overseas, you're playing Normally, they're playing on the best teams in each country. EuroLeague, I've played in there. And then as soon as the season is over, April, you are heading right into training camp. And me, I'm coming to the Surge, and we're doing the same thing. And then it's get ready to go right back over. So you don't get a break unless you make yourself take a break, which I have.
I know you're doing some public speaking, and I've seen some of your posts recently, and I know you're really, really excited about the fact that Forest Park and Tower Grove, the two biggest parks in the city of St. Louis, are now going to allow basketball hoops again. I never knew they didn't have them, and I'm thinking about it, and it could be a really great thing to bring basketball hoops back into Forest Park to give people something to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. St. Louis actually has a Ball is Life crew, which is, they're getting pretty famous right now through social media, and we have a Midwest crew. And so what they do is they bring a lot of live action and entertainment pickup ball to these parks. And it can bring a lot of attention to our city for a lot of great reasons and positive reasons. And I think the more parks that we do have with basketball hoops, the more opportunities for people to stay engaged, stay active, stay busy, and do things positively.
Fantastic. So I know you're doing some public speaking. Would you like to talk a little bit about your public speaking, and then about your book a little bit more, where we can get it and what to expect?
Yeah, so right now I have been doing a lot of workshops with high schools, middle schools, coming in, talking to their teams, groups, and things of that nature to get everybody on the same page. What it means to be a great teammate, how to have communication between teammates, between coaches, all the things that you need to do to reach your next level. And when we say your next level, everyone does not want to go to their next level of sports, and that's perfectly fine. But you can use the time that you have right now within sports to help you reach your next level.
So how excited are you about the next year's Surge season? St. Louis Surge has made some changes. Duez Henderson looks like he's remaining the GM, but you've got a new head coach and assistant coach. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm certainly excited. I'm keeping an open mind. I'm ready for a new situation. I'm looking forward to, a new direction, and I think that we can capitalize on some new blood coming in.
Yeah, with Peter Jackson and Justin Tatum coming in, it should bring a lot of exposure and should be a fun year. And we hope that you will be back next year as the captain of the St. Louis Surge. Any final thoughts?
I'm excited. Every summer brings in a lot of new things. I can't even, pick one thing that I'm excited about other than seeing some new faces. Our crowds should be getting a little bigger with the COVID restrictions being lifted here and there. So I'm just excited for a new season.
Where can we get your book?
You guys can get my book at Rebecca30harris.com.
Rebecca30harris.com. Well, Rebecca, thank you very much for joining us here on Inside Sports.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break now, but stick around as Tom Ackerman from KMOX Sports will join us when we return.
I realized that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Welcome back to the show. Our next guest began his career as a public address announcer for Country Day High School here in St. Louis as a student. He served as a broadcaster during college in the Big Ten for Indiana University. Currently, he's the sports director for KMOX Radio, covering all sports, including the Cardinals and Blues. He's covered Super Bowls, World Series, and Stanley Cups. And this time, we welcome Tom Ackerman, Inside Sports. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Todd, great to be here. Thank you.
I don't know if you remember this, but about 15 or 17 years ago, you actually came on our show. I think we were over there, another part of the building. It was a very exciting time. I know you started like in the mid to late 90s, coming back into St. Louis. and we had the Rams run to the Super Bowl, which was so fun after getting the team and all the hoopla with Jerry Clinton. We end up getting to cover Super Bowl, a couple of them, and then the Rams leave. One of the hottest sports stories right now is the St. Louis settlement with the Rams, with $790 million split with lawyers, the county, and St. Louis. I did see Louis Reed making a case for St. Louis should get a little bit more of that cut because the county kind of, bowed out when it came down to the bitter end. I had him on my radio show, Louis, and he was saying how they gave us the artist renderings and they had all the Board of Aldermen on board. So the city did take an extra step. What are your thoughts being in this process day in and day out with KMOX?
Well, I mean, I think you want this money to be shared and you want this money to go to great things. And you want this to go back into sports. The sports is what brought us to this point in the first place. So $790 million, as I mentioned, some of this money is going to go to attorneys. There are going to be legal fees involved, but there will be a sizable chunk that you can distribute. I just hope that city, county, that the great people of our region can come together on this, because that's what we're all about. That's what Stan Kroenke tried to trash us on the way out, saying that we weren't capable. We are capable. We stuck up for ourselves and we won. Now let's celebrate together and do the right thing, which is come together and find a way to share this properly, and to not only for professional college sports, whatever comes into town, to prop up our facilities so that we can draw more great events, but let's help the youth of St. Louis. Let's teach kids sports and give them opportunities to play sports and grow as to what we are. We're America's best sports city. So to put that money to proper use is what I would love to see.
It's amazing when you say that. I think of the Battlehawks right away, because selling out the lower bowl there and just seeing all the excitement and seeing several of the players from that team, including the Washington football team quarterback, Taylor Heineke, playing in the pros right now. And you see that was a good level of football. And then you think, gosh, I wish we could stick it to Kroenke and the Rams and the NFL and just make them squirm and have these trials. But in the end, it takes, 12 juries, 12 guys on a jury to find for the plaintiff. And is it better to take the money, or would it have been worth it?
It's tough because it's hard to say, because my first reaction is, whoa, this is it? They're settling now? That's my first reaction.
You missed
because
some,
I want more and more. Let's embarrass them and let's get more money and more money. But if if you're really on the inside and you know how the legal process works, there is an appeals process. And there's a risk that you could lose some of that money in the appeal. There's a chance that this drags on for a long, long time. So perhaps the client thought and the attorneys thought that this was the best time to settle for $790 million minus what we're going to pay in legal fees. But I think it's a win. I mean, you think about what it cost to do the proposal for a new stadium when the Rams were already leaving. What was that, 17, 18 million? So we're way over the top on that. On top of any other money that was lost, it's a win, whichever way you look at it. So I think you take the win. And my first reaction, though, I have to admit, was, it's over? But in some ways, I'm kind of glad it's over. And now this is a chance for us to shine. I
think we can focus on soccer now too. I was kind of wondering if people are saying we might get a football team if they want to settle somehow, but how would that affect Major League Soccer coming here? I mean, we've got this brand new stadium going up on Market Street. It's a nice segue into Midtown and the St. Louis University campus. They've got some new things going on there. The Billikens are doing great. But with soccer coming to town, I know you've got to be super stoked.
I am excited. I think it's a good point to be made. I want everything. I want the NFL, NBA, Major League Soccer, NHL, baseball. I'd love to have it all. I don't know if there's enough corporate dollars to go around. Now, MLS does go from March to October, so that's a different time of year than the NFL, so they overlap barely. But I think the point is you want to put your energy towards the things that we do have. We have a world-class baseball organization. We have a hockey team that just won a Stanley Cup and has a diehard fan base and a building that's been refurbished. Those are two huge wins for us. Major League Soccer has big-time muscle behind it. It has a very strong, mostly female ownership group that is the first of its kind in sports. And so it's an exciting time to see that stadium going up off Market Street, and it's going to be finished before the season even begins. So you're going to be able to do some things inside there. I agree with you. I think it's time to refocus our energy on the things that we do have. An MLS team is going to be a monster win for St. Louis. It's going to make us more worldly. It brings a different dimension. It puts focus on the city. It brings in younger people. You're going to see fans, players, eyeballs from all over the world looking at St. Louis. That's what you want. We've been down the NFL road a couple of times. The MLS has the Taylor family, worldwide technology, all of these big-time people putting Purina, all of these great, great companies and people putting their resources, their trust, their belief behind St. Louis, and specifically downtown West, which desperately needs help. It is so great for the area, and soccer is great too. I love soccer.
Just think of the role that St. Louis University is on this year. It's so unbelievable, and they're just right down the street from each other. It can build on each other so well with all the kids that are from St. Louis on the SLU team this year.
And you won't have to teach St. Louis soccer. I mean, the people in St. Louis, this is a soccer town. They understand the sport. But you're going to teach so many more casual sports fans about a beautiful, beautiful game, and a game, quite honestly, that young people are watching. I mean, I see more kids wearing soccer jerseys than I do NFL jerseys around here, Todd. So I think it's absolutely an exciting time.
I see you. I'm seeing these events around town, and you do a fantastic job. I love watching you. Especially, I was very impressed when Curtis Francois came out and announced all the new big races over at Worldwide Technology Raceway, formerly Gateway. I mean, that place was about to be torn down. And Curtis Francois comes back. Look what he's done over there, improving that facility just across the river.
He has been wonderful, and I have been working with them as a consultant and also just to work with them on media and also the pursuit, and now that they have NASCAR, what that means and how to translate that to sports fans. So I've had a good working partnership with them, and seeing the inside of what they do, it's incredible the energy that man has. I mean, here's a local person who literally saved that track from the scrap heap. I mean, it was going to be sold for scrap metal. He saved it, and now he's putting more money in to make it world class. It's the only facility in the world that's going to have NASCAR, IndyCar, and NHRA, and it's right here in the heart. NASCAR knew it. They've wanted to be in St. Louis. They saw the market and jumped on it, and he will not rest until that place. I mean, you look around there, if you ever drive around there, it's now the attention to detail it's like night and day. I mean, it's immaculate. They're making sure that this is a place that everybody wants to continue to go to for year after year. This is not a one-time deal. NASCAR is going to be here for a long time. And it's also an event. NASCAR is an event. It's a race, but there's so much more involved. The camping, the music, the food, the people, and yes, the celebrity sightings and all the things that go in a NASCAR Cup race. It's going to be pretty cool.
Wrestling at the Chase has made a big comeback this last year or so, and a lot of fun events. I know you're involved with the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, and we've had members of that committee on their show frequently throughout the years. And it's fun seeing wrestling coming back to St. Louis as well. Even though it's a performance and a show, it sure is a lot of fun.
I agree with you. I once interviewed Hulk Hogan, which I still have the voicemail on my phone because I think it's so funny. He called me. He's like, "Hey, Tom, it's Hulk Hogan. I think I missed your call. I think we have an interview." I just saved it because it's funny. But he told me in that interview that when he was getting into the business and he got called to St. Louis, that was a big deal. When you came to St. Louis, that meant you were coming to the big time. And my dad worked at the front desk at the Chase back in the day. There's like a lot of connection there. A lot of feelings come back. I grew up watching wrestling when I was a kid, Hogan and WWF. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I think it's a part of our history that we should show off a little bit.
I see you're wearing your Missouri Valley Conference, the Valley pullover, a Class A organization. Mike Kerr and Jack, the whole group over there. Doug retiring. I'm not sure if they've announced a new commissioner for the conference yet, but I know you really enjoy the Arch Madness tournament and broadcasting with the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, we've already talked about NASCAR, wrestling, soccer, football, hockey, and of course the Cardinals are our baby over at KMOX. That's our partner. But I'm telling you what, I grew up playing basketball. I loved college basketball as a kid. I went to Indiana University, which is like a 4-year basketball education. To be able to call basketball part-time, it's part of what I do for a living, is a dream every time. The ball goes up in the air, you just never know what's going to happen. I'm even coaching my daughter's 5th grade team now because I can't get enough of the game. Calling college basketball is very, very special. And I love the game so much. It gives you such great energy to watch a basketball game. And the Valley will be good. I mean, they're always going to be good. I'm a Big Ten guy, and I grew up here. The Valley to me has always been like a little Big Ten. It just, the basketball-centric universities, the great coaches, the excitement all throughout the roster, and I'm fired up for the season.
You know, an old basketball broadcaster, Skip Irwin, passed away this week, and I didn't know if you had a quick comment on Skip. I met him over the years. He corrected me on the set here once about a comment I made.
Todd, yeah, that's not right.
And if you ever go to a Cardinal baseball game and you're in the press box and you're a newbie like I was, you get the hook.
Yeah, he had the hook, the claw before Mike Maddox did. The Cardinals pitching coach does that if you watch when he. Skip Irwin. So I started at KMOX in 1997 as a producer. And part of my job was to be over at Busch Stadium getting audio of players. I wasn't on the air yet. And when I was up in the press box, Skip Irwin told me, "Tommy, you're going to be hosting one of these days. You're going to be on KMOX, kid. You got it." And I said, I appreciate that, Skip, very much. Well, guess what? About a year or two later, I was hosting on KMOX Cardinals post games. You know what he said to me? "I told you, Tommy. I told you." He was a fixture in the press box, Rams Park, in the locker room. He would be on the other side of the room. There'd be times where I'd see him and he'd point at me and mouth, "Told you." And he was just, I would describe him as, and I will miss seeing him, and he just passed away, as you said, at 96. What a wonderful life. Just a positive influence, positive reinforcement to so many people, athletes, coaches, media members. There wasn't a day where Skip Irwin didn't come up to somebody and tell them they were doing a good job. And you look back and think how much that was needed. I don't know that maybe we realized it at the time, how influential he was in a lot of people's lives.
Sure. Any final thoughts? I know you recently attended the Alabama-Auburn game. That must have been awesome. Guns and Hoses was an amazing event. And, we've got the big event coming to Belle Reve, the big golf tournament.
I'm kind of all over the place. Guns and Hoses, assisting the families of fallen first responders is something that is very close to me, and I loved that event very much. The President's Cup at Belle Reve in 2030, and we are now a golf destination without question. The Iron Bowl was one of the greatest sporting events I've ever attended. Auburn, Alabama, Bama wins it in 4 overtimes in a spectacular game. My first time, it was a bucket list thing for me. My wife and I went with friends. I hit it at the right time. And really what's on my mind right now is baseball. Will we have the Cardinals starting on time? If they do indeed go into a lengthy lockout, when will they come out of it and get it going? Because I'm always thinking about the Cardinals, and I think they're going to be really good, Todd. I mean, right now they're my favorite in the NL Central. I think they're a real threat in the National League.
All right, well, thank you very much, and thank you for all the work you've done in the community with corporate organizations, giving back, and with Matthews Dickey, and all the great things you do. Tom Ackerman on Inside Sports, appreciate it.
I appreciate it, thank you.
All right, well, that's our show for today. We'd especially like to thank Tom Ackerman and Rebecca Harris for joining us in studio. We'd like to thank you for watching Inside Sports on STL TV. Experience St. Louis.